Well, Christian, it's hard to put into words what we saw here last night. What we experienced was less of a debate and more of a slanging match. And in the past half hour, the organisation that manages these debates has said it's going to change the format to ensure, it said, a more orderly discussion, because what we witnessed last night was a president who was antagonistic, who was aggressive, who was a bit like a bully boy on the playground, who was all mouth, but there was very little action. There was nothing about how he would govern over the next 4 years. Instead, just loads of dubious claims about his achievements in the past, mixed with tons of bile and vitriol. As for Joe Biden, he did his best to overcome, to rise above the onslaught, but it was difficult for him. He tried to paint a picture of what his presidency would look like, but I have to say most of it was drowned out by the verbal juggernaut that was Donald Trump. Well, who won in the end? The polls mostly seemed to side with Joe Biden, but what all here seemed to agree with was that the big loser on the night was America itself.
None of
to deserve $183,000.
None of that is true.
Let him answer.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck, because that was horrific.
It felt like an assault. It felt like an assault on our senses. It felt like an assault on our presidential campaign process.
I'm just going to say it like it is. That was a shit show.
An open arm gesture that in the end would be the only vaguely friendly moment the two would share. For within minutes of the opening of the first presidential debate, the conversation descended into playground chaos.
Absolutely.
Folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing? This is so unprecedented.
It had been the most anticipated debate in modern election history, a chance for undecided voters to hear the candidates pitch.
He will destroy this country.
To rescue a nation mired in multiple crises.
Keep yapping, man.
But any message was drowned out by a seemingly uncontrollable president who elevated the art of interruption and heckling to a whole new level.
Class, don't ever use the word smart with me. There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
Even the Fox News moderator struggled to contain him.
No.
Ukraine.
No, sir. Sir.
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating
worst
him,
part
not
of
me.
Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask.
Amid the backbiting and jeers, one moment stood out in particular.
But are you willing?
When the president was asked to condemn white supremacists.
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
He was asked to denounce the far-right extremist group, the Proud Boys. But even with an audience of tens of millions, he couldn't bring himself to do it.
Right,
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
Stand back, but stand by. A shocking response that was immediately echoed by members of the group on social media, with one even integrating the president's words into a new logo. Over breakfast this morning, locals, even Trump fans, were shell-shocked and weary. What does it say about the state of America, though, do you think? I mean, it was a slanging match. It wasn't a debate.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It makes us look like we're a circus show or something. If somebody's supposed to be running the country and doing things that, you know, is going to benefit the American people, we can't have a president being an ass. Just can't.
The interrupting and everything, and Donald Trump not listening, Joe Biden is just constantly making fun of the dude. I didn't like that. I still feel strongly about who I'm voting for.
May I ask who that man is?
That's Donald J. Trump.
But Donald J. Trump was less president last night and more a man hell-bent on needling his opponent, willing him to trip up. Joe Biden's performance was mostly assured, if a little catty.
Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this
Hey, let me just say to you.
As he desperately tried to rise above the din and appeal to voters on the pressing issues of the economy, climate and COVID-19.
Look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID?
But Donald Trump's response was just more ridicule.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
This voter could handle a cutthroat, but said the debate was a whole new level of stress. Why was it stressful?
Oh, I mean, he's the president of the United States, and he rants like a two-year-old.
I mean, people are talking about this being the end of America. Is that too dramatic?
Well, I mean, Rome fell.
Which is why Joe Biden looked down the camera and made this plea.
Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote vote, vote.
Not the same message from the president.
But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
A fitting foreboding end to a debate that did nothing for undecided voters, and where the big loser, it turns out, was America.
Well, earlier I spoke to Cornell Belcher, a political strategist and pollster who worked for the Democratic Party and both Obama presidential campaigns. And I began by putting it to him that Donald Trump dominated the debate and shouted down his opponent. So in his terms, he won.
Well, I don't know if being rude and loud and boisterous equals win, because what's the win, right? Donald Trump is the candidate who's behind in this race. And he's behind in this race because he's losing voters, particularly among suburban voters, particularly among women voters. And if you look at the focus groups that the Washington Post did, they use terms like unhinged and unpresidential.
But was there anything that anybody discovered about Donald Trump last night that they haven't known for 4 years? I mean, all of this stuff was sort of on display in 2016, and he still won then.
He's someone who won by a fluke of our electoral system. And the question is now, can he win the presidency of the United States again with 47% of the electorate? I don't think lightning's going to strike twice. The other thing here that sort of jumps out, the president of the United States gave a shout out to a white supremacy group. When asked to condemn white supremacy, he gave a shout out to a white supremacy group. That is not the sort of behavior that I think a lot of our middle-of-the-road voters are going to agree with and swing towards him because of that. And quite frankly, it's dangerous.
But what was extraordinary about that moment was that Joe Biden failed to seize on it. I mean, did you look at Joe Biden and think this is a strong candidate who's going to persuade people, or is he just the guy who doesn't offend?
I think Biden would have been better served if he had not, in fact, tried to debate or go back and forth with Donald Trump at all, but in fact, turn to the camera and talk directly to the American people about what it is he plans to do to make their lives better and better position America for the future.
Do you think that extraordinary statement that we heard to the sort of the far right to stand by means that we are going to see people with guns, frankly, coming onto the streets if this election is disputed?
That is, unfortunately, that's where we are in this country. We are a country with a lot of guns and a lot of volatility.
If it turns really ugly and potentially violent, what are you going to do?
I think there's more people of goodwill and nonviolent in this country than there are people who want to sort of disrupt things and cause chaos. And I'm going to join in with the people of goodwill in this country of all colors and from all backgrounds. And democracy will prevail in this country. It may be messy, but it will prevail. We are not going to have a coup in the United States of America, but it might get messy.
Cornell Belcher, and later in the programme we'll get the Republican response. Plus we'll have the latest reaction to our major investigation into the data files used by the Trump campaign in 2016. What do current Trump campaign staff make of its apparent aim to deter people from voting?
That's ridiculous, and what I would say to you is I hope you'll go look at the CIA report. There was a CIA referral that Hillary Clinton was spreading a lot of false news about Russia, so I hope you guys will eagerly pursue that. I'm sure you won't, because you are, after all, the media.